Thanks so much to Uscreen for sponsoring today's video. When I first started my YouTube channel, I never would have guessed that it would lead me to running a $500,000 per year business in my 20s. Honestly, there was just so much that I didn't know about money, business finances, taxes, income streams, and I had to learn it all along the way through trial and error and many hours of research. Now, because of the work that I do and the niche that I'm in, I have talked to a ton of growing creators and actually some really successful ones too, who are surprisingly unaware of some of these crucial financial strategies and principles. And honestly, it makes me kind of nervous for them. I talked to this creator who was telling me how she didn't really know how to pay her business taxes. And I was like, girl, we gotta get this sorted out for you. Like right now, open up your laptop. I don't want the IRS coming after you. And I don't want the IRS, or if you're Canadian like me, the CRA coming after any of us either. So that's why today I'm gonna be talking about the 7 things that content creators should know about the financial side of their business. Like the crucial building blocks of making money online and how to understand your own finances so that you can finally feel like the confident CEO that you are. Number 1, revenue is not what you actually get paid. Way too many people are still confused about how much money they're actually making. And frankly, it's not their fault because there's way too many creators online who are like confusing this whole concept. How much money your business generates is not the same as what you personally actually make. For example, my business generates about $500,000 a year. That is true, but I personally last year got paid $75,000. That's what I chose to pay myself. So let's break this down. Okay, first we have your revenue. This is always gonna be the biggest number. So when you hear creators say they have a 6-figure or 7-figure business, like this is the number that is that many figures. That's what they're referring to. This is not how much money they actually take home though. But like I get it, of course. We're all gonna refer to like the biggest number because it sounds the most impressive. Okay, so next we have expenses. So we need to subtract our expenses from our revenue in this equation. This is any money that you spend to make your business happen. So cameras, memory cards, hard drives, software subscriptions, your internet bill. All of these business expenses deduct from your revenue. Okay, now this equals profit. And a lot of people stop there, but we're not done yet because we need to pay our taxes on this profit. And then finally, this gives you your business's net profit. So how much money you've actually made after tax. If you're a sole proprietor, this is then your take-home income, like this would be your personal income. But if you have a corporation or an LLC like I do, then you would then pay yourself your personal income out of this net profit. And depending on how you pay yourself, whether it's dividends or a wage, then what you pay yourself may or may not count as a business expense, but that's out of the scope of this conversation. The point is, the story is not so simple as just how much money does your business generate, that equals how much you make. It's important to understand the flow of money through a business, through revenue, to expenses, to profit, to taxes, and then net profit at the end. And if you want to know why I only pay myself about $75,000 a year, you can check out this video where I talk more about it. Okay, second thing, no one seems to understand what a write-off actually is. All the time I hear people shrug off a business expense because it's a write-off.
So that's a write-off.
That's a write-off?
Yeah.
Do you even know what a write-off is?
But just to be clear, just because it's a business expense doesn't mean that we're not spending money here.
Oh, and who pays for it?
Nobody.
It just means that the amount of that expense is deducted from your revenue, like we were just talking about. And therefore, you'll pay a little bit less in taxes because your final profit will be lower. Let's look at another example. We need the whiteboard again. Let's just say that your business generates $100,000 in revenue and you end up having $25,000 in expenses. That means you're going to end up paying taxes on the $75,000 that actually ends up being your profit. If you hadn't spent this $25,000, you would be paying tax on $100,000, but you would also have $25,000 more. So especially as like the sole owner of your business, if you're spending money just because it's a business expense, you are ultimately taking away funds that you could otherwise maybe allocate for retirement savings or just like your own personal expenses. So I just caution you against using write-off as a reason to spend money that you otherwise wouldn't have. All of that being said, I don't want to scare you off of spending money on your business altogether, because there's definitely times where it makes a lot of sense to reinvest. For example, one way you might consider reinvesting in your business is by outsourcing your editing. Shameless self-promo here, but my agency Creatorly Media is currently taking on new clients for YouTube and podcast editing. We've recently redesigned our services from the ground up to make them completely optimized for YouTubers and video podcasters, so I'm really excited about it. And I really believe in buying back your time as an amazing way to invest in your business, because it means that all of those hours that you otherwise would have spent editing, you can now use to focus on new revenue generating activities, or just simply resting and relaxing, which is really important too. So yeah, if you want help with your YouTube editing, you can go to creatorlymedia.com for all of the details. I'll have it linked in the description as well. Number 3, you don't need to have a large audience to make money as a creator. Everyone seems to think that the more subscribers or more followers you have, automatically the more money you're going to be making. The truth is, there are a lot of people who have found themselves with quite a large audience but no idea how to monetize it. And yes, there are some things that kind of automatically happen, like AdSense or like the TikTok creator fund, but those are not nearly as significant as everyone thinks they are. Now, while there are creators with really large audiences that don't seem to know how to monetize them well, there are creators with smaller communities that are making a really substantial living off of it. It's really all about how you go about making money. If you have a smaller audience and you offer something really high value like services or consulting, or even a really in-depth course or a really great digital product, you can make a really good income off of not that large of a following. Speaking of different ways to make money, number 4, you need to have multiple income streams. Another huge misconception that way too many creators have is that the only way to make money is off of like AdSense, TikTok creator fund, and like brand deals. The truth is, there really are so many different options, and it's important that you have multiple. That way, if you're seeing fluctuations in your AdSense or your brand deal revenue, it's not as stressful because you know you have other income streams that you can fall back on. One income stream in particular that I think more content creators should be getting onto is memberships. Specifically, a video-based membership hosted on Uscreen, the sponsor of today's video. Uscreen is an all-in-one membership platform built for creators that helps turn your video content into a profitable membership with a dedicated community. You can offer your paying subscribers direct access to your exclusive content and community space. So I personally launched my own membership with Uscreen back in April. It's called the Creator Club. So pretty much every month I upload an exclusive video just for Creator Club members, as well as all of the ad-free versions of my regular YouTube uploads. And we also have the community space where we can chat, ask each other questions, get feedback on our content from one another. And what I love about it is it's all branded so professionally. Like, I even have my own Creator Club app in the App Store where you can access all of this. I've tried offering courses and paid consultations and stuff like that in the past, and those income streams definitely have their merits. But honestly, doing a membership has been my favorite so far. I love how it's interactive with the community forum, and it's also iterative. So I have a chance every month to bring something new to the table, shake it up, try a different content format, and I'm always throwing in lots of different like bonuses as well. To me, that's a lot more fun and a lot less stressful than hiding away for months to create a new course and then launching it and hoping people will like it. I love that I can create something new every month, get feedback, tweak things, and just keep making it better. Plus, it also means a reliable, recurring source of income, which is just so valuable for content creators, especially because a lot of our income sources can be quite variable. Uscreen is really such a high quality platform, and they really do care about their creators. I've appreciated all of the support that I've gotten from them through my journey of creating this membership. If you're interested in learning more and starting your membership journey with Uscreen, right now you can get free access to their 6-week membership launch guide by using the link in the description. Number 5. Passive income doesn't really exist. People online love to talk about passive income, but the truth is, a lot of the stuff that we refer to as passive income in the content creator space, it's not really that passive. True passive income is stuff like your investments gaining value, so like the interest you earn off of literal investments, or maybe like your house value increasing in your like local real estate market. Like, those are things that happen truly without you doing anything. But when we talk about stuff in the creator space, like digital products, course sales, even like AdSense or affiliate commission, all of that stuff has a somewhat active nature to it. And I personally think characterizing it as passive income has led to like a big misconception around like the actual work that's involved in setting up those income streams to be like a significant source of income for you. Okay, so take digital products, for example. We often think of this as a passive income stream, but for one, it does take significant work to actually design and create a helpful and valuable digital product that's going to sell well. And even once you actually do have it created and set up and ready for sale, there's all the work that goes into promoting it, whether you take the route of doing a lot of evergreen content, say like blogs or YouTube videos that are really searchable, that are gonna help people find your product listing, or you do regular promotion through social media content creation, or you're like setting up ads to like create a funnel to your product. Whatever avenue you take, like all of that stuff takes considerable work to actually, you know, get that digital product making you good money. The same is true for AdSense. It feels like relatively passive, right? Because, you know, that kind of deposit just comes in from Google every month. But, you know, take it from someone who's experienced it, when you stop posting videos for a while, your AdSense really decreases. So you do need to like keep up posting your videos if you want to see that same amount of AdSense. So this is my petition to rebrand the things that we call passive income in the creator space to maybe, let's say, scalable income. The nature of these things is, yes, they take work. There is some activity involved in actually making money from them, but they are highly scalable. So like the amount of work you're doing is not like directly tied to how much money you're making in the same way it would be for, say, like hourly work. So because of that, yes, it can be very lucrative, it can be very profitable, but it is not entirely passive. And I think a lot of people have gotten the wrong expectation about those ways of making money because we call them passive income. Number 6, you need to save money for taxes. If you're used to being an employee, then you're used to your taxes being deducted for you. But that is not the case when you are self-employed, as you are as a content creator. That means that you need to A, know about how much money you are gonna have to pay in tax when the time comes, and B, you need to save that money and set it aside for that future date. I know that might seem overwhelming, but it's actually pretty straightforward. Personally, I love to use Wealthsimple's free online income tax calculator. Treat this as an estimate. Like, you're gonna find out exactly what it is you owe later on when you file taxes and you kind of get that number sorted out. But online calculators like this can help you figure out a rough amount, so then you make sure you're saving that for when tax time comes. There's kind of 2 main methods of doing this, and it's gonna depend on your preference. The way I like to do this is try to make a projection of how much money I think I'm gonna make across the entire year, and then I'll put it into one of these tax calculators, see what my tax is gonna be, and then make sure that I have that much set aside, you know, when tax time comes. Another way to do this is just to save roughly 30% of what your profit each month ends up being. If your income really fluctuates and you're like, I have no idea how to estimate how much money I'm gonna make this year, then that is a good way to do it. Depending on how much you end up making and where you live and all of that stuff, that might end up being, you know, more than you have to pay, which great, then you have some extra money saved after the fact. Whichever way you go about it, just please tell me, confirm with me in the comments, you're gonna save some money for your taxes so that you don't end up with a big bill that you don't have the cash for. I don't want that for you. Now, if you only this career, you're going to be exposed to more people that seem to be like your peers or your colleagues as a creator that are living these seemingly really luxurious and lavish lifestyles. Now, this is also a result of like the filter that social media is, right? Like, we only see what people want us to see. But honestly though, I feel this so much. It's like I can feel myself getting slowly brainwashed by my Instagram feed. I personally come from an upbringing where getting to go on a trip via plane is like a huge deal, right? Like, that's really exciting. It's a big thing to even just do that. And like, now I find myself, from seeing what I see on social media, thinking like, all these other people that do the same thing as me are like flying business class. Should I be doing that too? Like, why aren't I doing that? And I have to like shake myself and be like, no, Katie, like, that's not normal. Like, you're just a normal person. Like, this is crazy. Your sense of what is normal is gonna become skewed when you're in this career and you see other people also in this career and how they're living and what they're spending on and all that stuff. It's really easy to fall into that trap of overconsumption and feeling like you should be participating in that too, especially if you do like technically have the cash on hand to do it. But I really, really believe in continuing to like maintain the lifestyle that you were used to before you kind of had this big financial opportunity of making more money, and saving like as much as humanly possible, because at the end of the day, this career on social media is kind of fleeting. Like none of us know how long we'll be able to do this for. And so I'm just personally trying to do my future self a solid by like saving as much money for her as I can, because like who knows what this career might look like in 5 or 10 years time. Like none of us have any idea. I personally do believe that all of this is going to continue. Like YouTube's been around for like almost 20 years now already, and it's still going strong. It's less that I don't have confidence in the platforms, because I do think social media is here to stay, and it's more that I don't have confidence in my own personal staying power. And it's not like me in particular, I just think any given creator, like, you know, audiences come and go, popularity comes and goes. And so I just think it's the most responsible thing to save as much as you can and don't get caught up in lifestyle inflation. Okay, I am genuinely so glad that you watched this video today, because it helps me sleep better at night knowing that you're saving money for your taxes, you're putting aside money for your future self, and you know what the difference between revenue and profit is. I know that I'm out here sharing a lot of like strategy and, you know, content creation tips for up and coming creators. So I just want to make sure that you're also being responsible with your money, because I think your future self will thank you. If you're a money nerd like me and you're curious to see a behind the scenes deep dive into my business finances, I put it all out on the table in this video, where I exposed how much money my business actually makes, how much I paid in taxes, how much I paid myself, and how I figured all of that out. So go ahead and watch that next. And hey, look, you made it to the end of the video, so you're officially part of the end of the video club. Drop me a little money emoji in the comments to let me know you made it this far. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having adventures and following your dreams, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.